Hi, hello, welcome to the Video Game Musicians. I'm Zach, and after the massive success of last year's video that was absolutely perfect and didn't have any criticisms at all and had nothing that needs to be improved or rethought, we thought we'd make another one. I hope you enjoy. Starting off with where we left off last year, April 20th, 2021. Along with our other birthday celebrations, such as the staff Q&A, we see the release of the aforementioned previous video. Apparently, my pronunciation of Zhao is so bad, coupled with my supposed accent, that it sounds like Joel. As such, the legend of Joel has become as big of a thing on the server as Moo was. There's no understating how big it was. Moving on though, on the 23rd we see the establishment of the online play role, designed to replace the existing system of having individual roles for each game. Skipping forward a bit to May 14th, we see the announcement of what's hailed as the server's first event actually centered around music composition. The challenge is that competitors may only have half an hour to write their submission. It was to be due a month later. Skipping forward again to June 3rd, CK made some assorted changes to the server. Now, I actually managed to get my hands on a top secret to-do list of his from the time, where we can clearly see that he got rid of the server's birthday icon, despite the birthday being 2 months ago at this point. He added a text channel with tips on how to get started with being a member of the server, and a dedicated role for miscellaneous announcements, just so that everyone doesn't have to be pinged unnecessarily. Sometime in June, we also see the rise of spam regarding the verbal introduction to the Fitnessgram Pacer test, I think it is. This trend can be traced back as far as February, but June is when it really picked up as a popular thing to put in our now deprecated text channel dedicated to spam. As well as that, there was also a popular version with many of the words mixed around, thanks to none other than yours truly. On June 8th, Refman goes on holidays. Vacation. This sees the birth of temporary replacement Refman, aka me. I'd done a little bit at the end of May, but this was when Refman actually went on vacation. On June 13th, the 30-minute composition challenge closes, with the voting to begin on the MuScore group, and just under a week later, the winners are declared as Flopper and Cradu. The day after, Refman comes back from his vacation. As I said at the time, questions would be returning to normal schedule and normal quality. This was met with Waluigi emoji? I don't know, you lot are confusing. On July 1st, we see the beginning of pretty much the only thing to rival Joel so far, Weak Meat. I still don't really understand it myself, so I'll let someone else explain it to you. Thanks, I think. A week later, CK does the unthinkable by combining the hit song Hot Potato with a bob-omb to create a dangerous and unstable creature. Kinda looks like you could put it in a museum, huh? Yes, this marks the announcement of the Hot Potato game. Players have a set order in which they must pass the potato in. There was a dedicated text channel for this, and to pass the bomb potato, as it was known, the next person in the order was to be pinged. With time zone differences, this made the game very interesting. Around this time, we see a smaller event that I wasn't aware of to my recollection. The Super Bell Hill Takeover, as it was known, consisted of people trying to arrange the theme to Super Mario 3D World's inaugural level in as many ways as possible. Like with the Fitnessgram spam, this can be traced back to February, but July is when it really picked up, including the establishment of a dedicated MuScore group for it. On July 18th, the last potato exploded, leaving Flopper the only player left unmashed. Berry and Koala barely had a chance to clean that potato off before the next event was announced though. 'Twas to be a true or false game, held through various Google forms in which players respond to a statement by either agreeing to its truthfulness or deciding it is false. Those who answer correctly get points, and quite simply, the person with the most points at the end wins. Don't think anyone's amazed by that poster though. On July 31st, we see something truly amazing happen. Remember how Piranha Plant sort of just disappeared towards the end of the last video? Well, guess who arised from the dead? It's none other than the legendary legend person of legend himself. Unfortunately, nobody noticed until the next day. However, something interesting to note can be found in our joined messages. We can clearly see here that wow#5745 joined on July 31st, who later turned out to be Plant's new account. However, wow#5745 also joined on March 23rd, but was, to paraphrase Best Berry, scared off by Koala Ranger. Indeed, some interesting food for thought. Jumping ahead to the end of the month, German announces some updates to the system in which Muse score of the week runs. Here's a little diagram of the old system I made to give a better idea of how the new system works in comparison. 1 week consists of both voting and submissions, with winners announced at the end of the week, and a new round of voting and submissions the next week. However, someone who submits at the start of the week has an advantage over someone who submits at the end of the week, because, for example, people who vote in the middle of the week. To counter this unfairness, there would now be just a week of submissions, and then just a week of voting. On the 29th, we see the true or false event come to a close, with the winner declared as Noob, but he's not on the server anymore, so who cares? Instead, let's interrogate CK about this thing, Ninmu's Trivia Tower. Because, well, if you give me a moment here, you can clearly see there's no other references anywhere on the server to this. So, huh? On the 1st of September, the next event is announced. The new event is centered around telling a story. Since Croto won the previous music challenge, he got to pick the signatures for this one. D minor in 5/4. A lovely choice indeed. Again, due in a month's time. But look at this! A month of MuseScore Pro for the winner? Wow, CK kept one of his promises that the next music competition would actually have a decent prize. On September 4th, we see the beginning of our next joke, Chicken Soup. Spearheaded by Plant, we see it incorporated into several meme-like situations, both for general use and some relevant specifically to our server. On his Google form submission for this video, he explains how it was, quote, simply a PNG of chicken soup uploaded as a MuseScore score, which promptly won MuseScore of the week, although it's originally a picture posted by Andrew Yang and a joke from the J-Schlatt community. Hang on, J-Schlatt? You get that crap back! Also on the 4th, Plant secretly becomes a staff member. Well, I don't remember that. Well, going back to that Google form, apparently CK gave him the Mecha Koopa Prime role, which is supposed to be reserved for our bots. So it has, like, administrative permissions on the role. It seems that only lasted until the moderator applications opens in early October, though. But hang on. Something else happened before then. Why, of course, one of the most significant events of the year, the server's rebrand from Nintendo musicians to video game musicians. Now, none of the words from the server's original name remain. CK put this decision down to the server not being as active as it used to be, and that Nintendo is just a certain portion of the video game industry. I vaguely remember a joke about us being the PlayStation musicians around this time, but if it did in fact exist, I can't find it anywhere. Also on the 2nd, as part of this rebranding, our text channels were reorganised, with many being archived. For many, the reason is obvious: concluded events, dead channels. Interestingly, we've actually still got the virtual Fisher bot on our server. I wonder if anyone still uses it, actually. So yes, back to those moderator applications that apparently breached Plant's undercoverness. After many applications, these 2 new positions were awarded to Will and Cover. Also on the 3rd though, we got a new bot, Tatsu. With Tatsu came a new ranking system based on your activity on the server. I don't remember when, but at some stage I also changed Tatsu's nickname to Tatsuru. As can be seen by these reviews here, everybody loves Tatsu, and definitely isn't at all being sarcastic if it seems otherwise. On October 7th, so about a week late, CK closes the current music competition, with voting to begin once again on the musical board. Also on October 7th, German releases some new rules regarding MuseScore of the Week. Firstly, an anti-spam measure to make sure only actual submissions get through, not jokes like chicken soup, which won MuseScore of the Week about a month or so back. Though this rule was more aimed at the likes of Flopper than the likes of Plant. Secondly, there'd obviously been some issues with people submitting old scores to the competition, so that was resolved by turning the unspoken rule for age into a definitive one that can be enforced. Also on the 7th, Zhao, or Joel if you prefer, decided to step down from their moderator position, citing the 2 new moderators as being up to the task of fulfilling their role. When they first stepped down, I'm pretty sure there was a retired staff role of some sort, but this has since been deprecated in favour of the kinda but also not mod role. Oh, but we're not done yet. Also on the 7th, German was promoted to an administrator position, likely to even out the balance of mods and admins. The first thing he did was purge a bunch of old bots that we didn't use anymore. But again, interestingly, not Virtual Fisher. On the 8th, we see the beginnings of what has been described as, quote, by far the most ambitious thing the server has attempted. The Japanese role-playing game project is a pretty big project. Like, they're making an entire video game. I had a look through some of the text channels, and they're talking about things like world building and storylines, battling systems, game engines, character sprites, map tiles, file formats, and of course music. You can't forget the music, that's what we're all about here. On the 9th, we see the establishment of our game console and genre roles, designed to replace the existing system of having individual roles for each video game. Wait, but hang on. Didn't the online play role already do that back in April? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. October was a busy month, okay? On the 13th, CK announced the winner of the storytelling competition. First place went to Wooble Scoople, also known as the Sad Frenchman, with his piece, The Plan. And I can see why. If you haven't heard it yet, you really should. It's very cool. On the 15th, a new UST project was announced. This time for Luigi's Mansion 4. CK wrote this whole spiel about the hypothetical game's background, but I'll summarise it for you. Professor Egad's portrait collection was stolen again, big surprise there, and has been hidden across a place known as the Ghastly Grove. Players can explore the Ghastly Grove's various levels in any order they desire. Look at this thing though. Much better than the true or false one, right? Getting close to November now, and CK has one more thing to announce before Spooky Month comes to a close. The Mafia game. It's a brand new, completely original concept that definitely isn't just Discord emogus. You know what, let's hang that one up too. Around comes November 17th, and The band video is finally finished? Turns out CK lost the original near-complete version, so he had to re-edit it. What a classic move from Mr. Scores over here. December falls upon the world and our server trials a new bot. One that can do question of the day for us. Why? Well, we're not too sure either. Refman said that he'd need someone to fill in every so often due to Wi-Fi restrictions at home, so Will said he'd be fine to do it, but then this bot just shows up instead. On the 4th, at the recommendation of myself, we had another bot, an official bot from Discord themselves. You could use it to throw snowballs at other people on the server, so Will made it an official server event to become, quote, the ultimate frozen water ball thrower. About a month since the Gusty Garden Galaxy video is released, CK puts out an announcement looking for new members for the band. A second song was coming. I'm not actually too sure what came of this though. As of February 23rd, there's only been one submission for it, so... Cometh the latest Gregorian year's commencement. Our server's ultimate frozen water ball thrower is declared. 'Tis not Akai with a mere 55 hits, nor Berry with 64, but it is indeed Crado with 407. That can't be right. Well, unfortunately, they took the bot offline, so we can't actually check those leaderboards anymore. On the 14th, Will, who's actually growing to be one of the more prominent moderators on the server, announces the Image Telephone event. I think he explained it best when he said, basically, take an image and one by one, make small changes to the image until it's as cursed or wholesome as it can possibly be. We are going to go with this as the last image because the channel was purged, but not quite as unfortunate as the fact we've run out of room in our museum. We're going to have to hang this one something like this, alright? That looks safe and definitely isn't going to fall down, or worse, break the laws of physics. Now here's an interesting one. February 4th, CK picks up the magical Blurple hammer and strikes it down upon an account. I'm pretty sure Gurman said that the account had been hacked, or compromised some other way, but I can't seem to find any record of that conversation now. What I also can't find any record of is somebody suggesting this was the server's first ban. However, despite evidence suggesting otherwise, I vaguely remember it being treated as such. So, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I assume to replace the Image Telephone event, Will announce a new photography-based event. Since most modern games have a screenshot function, it's fairly easy to take quality photos in-game now. The due date for these photos was announced to be the 18th. So what happened on the 18th then? Nothing! Whoops. Will extended the deadline to the 25th, citing a lack of submissions. So the winners were announced on the 25th, right? Wrong again! They were announced on March 9th. The winner was Nintendo, with this picture of Bowser being real angry at Blessing. He definitely didn't also copy the idea to his server, no, not at all. Someone really said to bring out the dead in March, with the collapse of not just the Luigi's Mansion 4 UST project, but also Muse Score of the Week. It's sad, because Muse Score of the Week was one of our longest standing things in the server, outliving rebrands, jokes and trends, and even platform shifts. Remember how I said Zhao now has the kinda but also not mod role? Well, after Plant was caught sneaking around disguised as a bot, I'm pretty sure he had the role removed. But now his sorta staff position was made official by him becoming the second person to have the kind of but also not mod role. At Plant's request, CK would make it so that the moderator role was now the final reward after gold rank. As of writing this script, we've only got one person on silver rank, which is Plant, 2 on bronze and 6 on iron, so I think it'll be a bit of time before someone makes it that far. Back on the theme of death though, it seems that the Super Mario Galaxy 3 UST project has also died off in activity around this time, which is also a shame. It was quite promising for a while there. If you haven't checked out the collection, I'd highly recommend most of them. Finally in March, the JRPG project migrated to its own server. The tactician musician, head of the project, had an old server from a previous attempt at making games that the JRPG project could use instead of a couple of text channels hidden within the depths of the video game musician's server. So, they migrated their work over there after it seemed to be both a good and popular decision. Of course, I'm not in the JRPG project, so it could be dead now too, for all I know. But wait, was that the last thing in March? It seems that CK came a bit early with the April Fools. He assigned 3 new admins, 3 new mods, and announced his retirement as well as firing all existing staff. The big day comes around and CK takes the reins of Question of the Day, asking if Zhao should be banned. This, of course, resulted in himself being banned. Twice! As well as the Nintendo Musicians bot. Yes, Nintendo Musicians, that's how long it's been since we actually used this thing. Which, if you recall, was supposed to become the new server owner after CK's retirement. And finally, of course, on April 4th, we see the announcement of the beginning of the production for this very video in which you're watching right now. I was going to start at the end of March and give myself a month to get it done, but I have a habit of doing this lovely thing called procrastination. If you're watching this though, it means I did get it done then. On that note, this does unfortunately mark the end of this video, because there can only be so many significant events in a year. As always, from us, the staff team, thank you for being the lifeblood of our community, and thank you for watching this video. I hope it was a bit shorter than last year's, and that you enjoyed watching. Here's to another year of being a wonderful part of this community of memes, music, and games. Make sure you subscribble and ding-a-ling the ring-a-ling bell, even though we'll probably ping you on Discord anyway if there's a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll probably see you next year because we don't really do anything else on this YouTube channel. One more thing though, I did also get this screenshot of us reaching over 4,000 messages sent on the server through the Google form. Not sure why, but somebody found it interesting, so here you go.